A change at head coach has not surprisingly led to a change under center for Florida. Thursday afternoon, interim head coach Randy Shannon, who took over for Jim McElwain when he was fired earlier this week, announced that Malik Zaire will start at quarterback in this Saturday's game against Missouri. Zaire replaces a struggling Philip Franks, who had thrown for 273 yards, 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions in his last 3 starts combined. Malik is the starting quarterback for this upcoming game at Missouri, said Shannon in a statement. This is his opportunity to get this team where it needs to be and not to be satisfied just because he's the starter. Today is an opportunity for him to run the offense and understand the expectations that we have for him. This is not a time for him to feel comfortable and feel like he's made it. We want him to keep grinding and understand that competition is very good. Zaire came to UF as a graduate transfer from Notre Dame and had been expected to start for the Gators from the get-go. However, he lost the starting job to Franks and was actually the number 3 quarterback most weeks, appearing in just 2 games this season. On the year, he's completed 12 of his 23 pass attempts for 142 yards. Franks started 6 of the Gators' 7 games this season. Luke Del Rio started the other, but suffered a season-ending shoulder injury in the September 30th win over Vanderbilt. Oregon coach Willie Taggart has had to deal with a lot since taking over in Eugene, but the biggest challenge the 2017 season has brought for him might be with the injury list. Unfortunately, you can add another name to the list, this time permanently, as the Ducks confirmed earlier this week that senior offensive lineman Doug Brenner was done for the rest of the season after he underwent hip surgery recently. It has been bothering him for a while, so he had surgery this week on it and he's out, Taggart said, according to the Oregonian. Brenner has been a versatile veteran for the Ducks in the trenches, entering the lineup 6 times this year and playing in over 40 games during his time with the program. Given that he's a 5th-year senior, it likely appears his college football career is over as he recovers from the hip surgery after last playing in a win over Cal. If there is some positive news for the team, it's that others are at least getting off the injured list. Quarterback Justin Herbert returned to practice with the first team on Wednesday, according to the paper. Clemson transfer Scott Pagano also appears to be on the mend as he returned to practice this week as well after missing the past 2 games. Oregon heads to Seattle on Saturday for a matchup with their Pacific Northwest rivals. Notre Dame quarterback Brandon Wimbush will be without a key safety blanket for this Saturday's game against Wake Forest. Irish head coach Brian Kelly confirmed to reporters after practice on Thursday that tight end Elise Mack would miss the team's home contest against the Demon Deacons as they look to defend that number 3 ranking in the first edition of the college football playoff rankings. Notre Dame coach Brian Kelly said Elise Mack is out this week for Wake Forest, missed too much time with concussion. Eric Hansen at Hansendi November 2, 2017. Mack entered the concussion protocol after hitting his head following an attempted catch in last week's win over NC State. He was 4th on the team with 17 catches for 154 yards on the season. The loss of Mack likely puts even more on starter Durham Smythe's plate and could limit the team at the position, where they had been using more and more 2 tight end sets. It does sound as though keeping him out for the Wake Forest game is precautionary and, should Mack not have any setbacks, he could be in line to return for the team's trip to Miami the following Saturday in a huge game between the rival programs. Schools and apparel companies are getting ever more creative when it comes to sorting out their latest mega-dollar deals, but sometimes that can come back to bite both in the backside if things don't turn out perfectly. Case in point comes at Auburn, where Elle.com reports that the school's stock package that they received as part of an apparel deal with Under Armour is significantly underwater at the moment. How much? A shocking 75% drop according to the site. At the time of the deal announced in October 2015, Under Armour shares were trading for more than $100 a share. After another disastrous earnings report released on October 31, Under Armour shares took another big tumble. Even factoring in Under Armour's stock split in April 2016, that's a significant loss of value for Auburn. The value of Auburn's US stock is down to a little less than $2.3 million, according to Elle.com estimates, after the initial $10 million in shares it received in 2015. While the numbers are rising on a number of levels, the Tigers are still in good shape as part of the original $78.1 million deal that runs through 2025. Embattled athletic director Jade Jacobs said he's not worried about things because of the length of the deal and the fact that the options are somewhat of a cherry on top of the entire thing when it comes to cashing out years from now. Plus, let's face it, the stock could certainly rebound quite a bit between the current low to a decade from now. That said, it seems like a pretty clear indication that the granting of stock will likely not be part of any next non-figure apparel deal going forward after schools learn their lesson from what happened with Auburn and Under Armour. It's a running joke in college football circles that every coach that is fired will soon join the Alabama coaching staff as an offensive or defensive analyst on Nick Saban's staff. For one former Crimson Tide assistant though, that could be a bit more on the nose than normal. All.com notes that Saban told the media on Wednesday after practice that he had left a message for Jim McElwain directly this week and also went so far as to send a note of support through their shared agent, the powerful Jimmy Sexton, following McElwain's parting of ways with Florida as head coach. "I think Jim did a really good job there to get to the SEC championship game the last 2 years, the first 2 years he was there," Saban told the site. "We've had to play them and they're always difficult preparation. I'm just sorry it didn't work out for him better. We'll do everything we can to help him in the future." It seems pretty clear that Saban isn't thrilled at how things played out in Gainesville with one of his colleagues, even if the Gators and their recent coach weren't a great fit on or off the field. The two are obviously close in the profession, given the fact that McElwain was Alabama's offensive coordinator during some title-winning years from 20,082,011 and having played each of the last 2 seasons in the SEC title game. McElwain has kept a pretty low profile since parting ways with Florida and nobody knows exactly what he'll do next. It could be that he heads back west to an area he's more comfortable in to become a head coach again, but if that falls through it certainly seems like he'll be able to slide into an offensive analyst role in Tuscaloosa with open arms from his old boss.